street made of hats.
At first, this looks like an ordinary small-town street. Cobblestones, bare trees, horses waiting in a line. Then the left side of the frame turns the whole photograph into something else. A cart transformed into a vertical storefront, stacked with hats like a wall of interchangeable identities. This is not only a market scene, it's a scene about how people were read in public, by what they wore and what they could afford to wear.
Probably Gorlice.
The setting strongly suggests southern Poland, former Austrian Galicia. The architecture, the street surface, the mixture of dress codes, the presence of horses and carts as everyday infrastructure. A later label identifies the place as Gorlice. In the final cut, we can present that cautiously, probably Gorlice, rather than an absolute claim, because the photograph itself needs to carry the identification, not an overlay. If it is Gorlice, one fact matters immediately. The town's Jewish community was not marginal. In 1921, there were about 2,300 Jews, around 41% of the town's population. On the eve of World War II, the Jewish population is commonly given as about 4,500 to 5,000. So when we look at this street, we're not looking at an exception. We're looking at a normal public space shaped, demographically and economically, by a major Jewish presence.
A shop on wheels.
This cart is not just carrying goods, it is built for display. Shelves rise vertically, hats arranged in layers so a passerby can browse without entering any interior. A storefront pushed into the street. Retail made mobile, retail made visible. It's a small detail with a big implication. This is street-level commerce designed to catch the eye, to turn the road itself into a marketplace. The cart functions like a moving shop window, open to everyone who walks past.
The multilingual sign.
Now look at the signboard at the far left. It's partly obscured and the image is grainy, but the top line reads with real consistency, Galanteria, with an older spelling ending in wa. That word is Polish trade language from an earlier orthographic register. It is closely related to today's Galanteria, meaning small manufactured accessories and notions, the everyday economy of gloves, ties, belts, and very often hats as well. So the town names the business in Polish. It tells you what category of goods is being sold. But the second line shifts the tone. It does not look like a Polish description at all. It reads like a proprietor's name written in Latin letters, something plausibly ending in Berg, with a distinctly Germanic Jewish ring. And the first part looks like an unusual given name, rendered phonetically, as if it were a Yiddish name transliterated into Latin script, rather than a standard Polish first name. So within one small sign, we get a compressed portrait of multilingual street life. Polish as the language of commercial category, how the trade is advertised. A Jewish/Germanic-sounding surname as the signature of ownership, how the merchant is identified. And possibly a Yiddish phonetic logic inside the given name, showing how multilingual life leaves traces even when everything is written in the same alphabet. This corner doesn't just label the cart. It reveals the cultural mechanics of the town, trade terminology in Polish, identity carried by names, and languages layered quietly inside the everyday.
The hats on the shelves. Who are they for?
Now look at the merchandise itself. This does not look like a niche religious stock. It looks like bread-and-butter urban headwear, practical felt hats and everyday models stacked in quantity, sorted by size and shape. That matters because it suggests the cart is aimed at the widest possible public. Not only one class, not only one community, not only one dress code. A street cart like this typically survives by serving mixed demand. Men who need a hat as a social requirement, men who replace a worn hat, men who want to look slightly more respectable than their means, men who buy for work, weather, or status. The abundance itself is evidence. Hats here function as mass-accessible goods, not only luxury items.
What a hat meant. Status and necessity.
In early 20th century Central Europe, a hat was rarely a neutral object. It could signal adulthood and respectability, urban aspiration, occupation, and proper appearance. But hats were not reserved for the wealthy. The market logic in the frame argues against that. A merchant stacks hats in volume because enough people buy them. So the hat carries a double meaning: status, how you want to be read, and necessity, what the street expects you to wear. This is why a hat can be socially loud, even when it is materially modest.
The men in the foreground, style gradients, not simple identities.
The group by the cart shows a gradient of style. We see shorter, more modern coats on some figures, urban cuts, a civic silhouette. We also see at least one older, bearded man whose overall look reads as more traditional. But we should be careful. Brimmed felt hats are not a clean religious boundary marker. They were worn by traditional Jews, modern Jews, and non-Jews alike. The frame does not give us permission to classify everyone. What it does give us is something subtler: a shared public space where different styles of belonging stand face to face around the same commodity.
The hat that isn't here.
Before we move on, there's one hat you might have expected to see in a Jewish street scene, yet it's missing from this frame. The Shtetl is the iconic Hasidic fur hat, typically worn by married men on Shabbat, festivals, and special occasions, not for everyday street trade. So its absence is a small clue. What we're watching here is weekday life: practical hats, commerce, and the street as a shop.
Horses, trees, season. A dating range.
Bare, pruned trees and heavy outerwear suggest a cold season: late autumn, winter, or early spring. Horses and carts still structure the street. The most honest dating is a range: early 20th century with a pull toward the interwar decades, but we keep it probabilistic unless we can read typography, locate the street, or obtain a higher resolution print.
Gorlice context. Why this normality matters.
If we treat the location as probably Gorlice, then this street scene sits inside a town where Jews were a major part of the population, around 41% in 1921 and 4,500 to 5,000 on the eve of World War II in commonly cited estimates. So the photograph is powerful in a specific way. It doesn't try to display Jewishness. It displays ordinary interdependence, the civic everyday where identities meet through trade, negotiation, and small rituals of buying. And that is precisely what later history will tear apart.
The grammar of hats.
This cart offers choices: brim, crown, felt, shape. But every hat is also a public face. A town reads you by your silhouette, and this photograph records that reading, right here in the pause before a choice is made.
If this small fragment of the past spoke to you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.